Welcome back. Now, let's talk about tax, and also let's talk about the National Identification Authority, because something is happening between two state entities that is threatening revenue mobilization. Now, scores of importers and taxpayers have been left stranded at the tax gates. The reason why they are unable to clear goods after the National Identification Authority cut off the Ghana Revenue Authority's access to its ID verification system over a 376 million cedi debt. The NIA said, despite issuing a final demand in April and a warning in July, the Ghana Revenue Authority failed to respond or commit to payment, breaching their service agreement. The authority warns the unpaid amount threatens the sustainability of Ghana's identity infrastructure. Head of Corporate Affairs, William Amponsa Dallas, join us via Zoom to talk more about this. But before he does that, my colleague Isaac Kofi joins me in studio with some background to this story. Kofi, tell me, what do we know on this particular matter?
This is not the first time this is happening. Remember, exactly a year ago, the then boss of NIA, Professor Tifa, actually appeared before Parliament for questioning. And he was asked about some debt that certain state institutions owed NIA. And according to him, as at that time, both GRA and the National Health Insurance Authority were owing NIA in excess of 500 million, Ghana cedis, if you do the math in terms of the conversion. According to him, NIA or NHIA was owing them some $58 million. And
$58 million.
$58 million for the National Health Insurance Authority. And GRA, as at that time, was owing NIA 288 million Ghana cedis.
Okay.
Now, according to the former boss of NIA, it's only GRA that has been allowed to actually pay some of these fees and charges in cedis.
Okay.
So he was questioned why you have debt of NHIA in dollars and that of GRA in cedis. He said these are their premium stakeholders. They pay that debt in cedis. And according to them, they've actually signed contracts with the GRA and saying that, look, we've developed a product called the Ghana card. You are using it. You have to pay for it because we also have stakeholders that they are paying. And GRA, since 2024, the debt was around 288 million. They've not cleared that debt. Now that debt has actually increased to 377 million Ghana cedis, adding this figure to the debt in just a year, 89 million cedis. And we ask ourselves, are they going to pay this debt, in terms of the charges every year? Because when we did the math within this period, it meant that the VRA or GRA is supposed to pay NIA some close to about 90 million Ghana cedis every year for the use of the Ghana card. Because if you are telling us that within 2021 to 2020, let's say 5, the institutions owe you 377 million Ghana cedis, and that is cumulative, then per our inferences, then that means that every year GRA is expected to pay a certain amount to NIA for the use of the Ghana card. Now, what are some of the implications?
Exactly.
And we've actually spoken about the, people who were not able to clear their goods at the port. But beyond that, the NIA is saying that the inability of certain state institutions not paying their debts, like the NHIA and then also GRA, is that they will not be able to go ahead to print new cards because they have other stakeholders. They also buy software and all of that. They have to pay all of these stakeholders. And so Ghana card, even if you're a state-owned, state agency, you cannot use Ghana card as a product for free. You need to pay for it because the banks are paying and other institutions are also paying. So what we are learning is that, NIA is actually demanding for this 377 million Ghana cedis that they said is currently the legacy debt that the GRA owes them. All
right, Kofi, thank you so much. Let's try to understand this matter even better. Now, the head of corporate affairs with the National Identification Authority is William Ampoma. Ms. Ampoma, Dallas. Ms. Ampoma, good afternoon and welcome to the Pulse. If you can kindly unmute for me, Ms. Ampoma. Yes, let me try. Yes, Mr. Ampoma, thank you so much for joining us. So, for those who are watching and listening, and they understand it is quite difficult, why should GRA pay you for the use of the Ghana card?
All right, so thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers. So this agreement predates this current management.
Right.
There was a high-level policy, governmental policy, to make the Ghana card the sole document for identification. Now, if you recall, the Ghana Revenue Authority used to register people for the 10 number. And so all all clients or applicants that visit the NIA at the GRA offices in the past used to register for the 10 numbers. Now, after that policy, the understanding is that the Ghana Revenue Authority stopped producing the 10 numbers, and they relied on the
Ghana
system
card
of the National Identification Authority. Now, a bulk data was given to the Ghana Revenue Authority by the National Identification Authority. I think there are about 3 institutions government institutions that were given the data: GRA, NIA, and then Passport Office. Now, the GRA have a system that communicates with the system of the National Identification Authority.
Right.
So for the past 3 years and counting, there were service charges that they were supposed to pay to the National Identification Authority. That is the 376 plus million Ghana cedis we are talking about. And so anytime, aside the bulk data we give to the Ghana Revenue Authority, anytime there is an update in our system with regards to people visiting our various registration centers to update their records, because their system communicates with ours, they are able to get the updates.
Right.
Now, I'm hearing the commissioner is saying they do not need the National Identification Authority's platform to verify people at the port and all that.
Right.
And that they use company 10 numbers and all that. But the truth is, as we speak, there are still people at our FOIA front desk requesting for rectification in our system to enable them go clear their cars at the port. As a result of this disconnection, there are people at our FOIA as we speak who got stranded at the port because they updated their records in our system. And we disconnected the Ghana Revenue Authority effective 1st August. So all those details, they are unable to get it. We are not happy with it.
And that's clearly, Mr. Mpoma, is, loss of revenue, especially for the state.
The reason I'm saying we are not happy with it, but we are also running an authority and we need this money to be efficient. It's already affecting our operations. And we've sent series of demand notice to the affected government institutions. And it appears they just overlooked it. So authorities were left with no other option than to disconnect them. As we speak, we have written to the Data Protection Commission to help us get access to the server we sent the bulk data to so we can return our data from the Ghana Revenue Authority.
You are asking for the return of data belonging to the NIA?
Exactly. But we cannot do that without data protection because there are laws governing all these things. So we've written to them, and we are looking forward to meeting them so we can have access to their server and, if you like, delete our data.
I mean, and this clearly obviously sounds like you are escalating, for want of a better word, the feud that currently exists between the NIA and the GRA.
Interestingly, there's no feud. As we speak, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority is a board member on the board of the National Identification Authority.
Right.
So there's absolutely no feud. But as I indicated earlier, we are operating a system, and that system needs to be maintained. We can only maintain it through the service charges we are getting from these institutions.
Right.
There were 3 government institutions that were heavily owing us.
Apart from the GRA?
Yes, aside the Ghana Revenue Authority. National Health Insurance Authority, they were owing us about $58 million. The Passport Office, about $20 million US.
Have they settled?
But they have communicated and showed commitment that they are ready to pay that amount so that we can maintain our systems and give them a very robust services. That is exactly what we're expecting from the Ghana Revenue Authority. But unfortunately, our last demand notice to them was last month, and no communication whatsoever ensued between us. So it was obvious they were just not looking our way. So we had to do what we did.
But I'm wondering whether in previous times, whether there was an arrangement for payments and whether GRA was meeting that obligation.
Yes, there was. And we stated all that in our demand notices to the Ghana Revenue Authority. They are very much aware of all these arrangements.
So what has changed?
But I wouldn't want to delve deep into all this, but we had a press briefing, and this happens to be one of the issues we discussed. Unfortunately, it has taken almost the center stage of everything we discussed yesterday. But what I want to put across is, before we arrived at this decision, some high-level meetings had happened.
All right.
We spoke with our sector minister. We've gone to Parliament to meet with the Finance Committee and all that. So we did not just arrive at this decision without consulting those that we were supposed to consult.
All right. So, yeah. I mean, these are 2 public institutions, state-owned institutions, the NIA and the GRA. Can there be a middle ground to resolve this matter instead of the matter now taking a different life of its own? You are writing to the data protection to virtually take everything that belongs to you that is in the custody of the GRA.
Yes. Even after paying the debt, we as an authority have decided not to give bulk data to any institution again. All those that would want to come on board our verification platform will have to come through the API system so that you will not have the bulk data we sent to GRA, Passport Office, and NHIA before now. That is the new policy. So even if they pay all their owing us, all their financial obligations to us, if they pay everything, we want those that rely on our systems to do some sort of verification.
Right.
Or even those that have a system that communicates with ours, they must come through the API system.
Okay. And then my final question will be, so now that you've unplugged GRA, people have come to your office trying to go to the verification. What the implications for this, if you can just briefly educate us on it, especially for GRA and revenue mobilization at the port and some other port of entry?
As you said, there are a lot at stake with regards to revenue. And it's unfortunate that we had to get to this point. I know currently there are some discussions at the background, and we are just hoping that by close of day or even by midday tomorrow, we will be able to reach some amicable solution, and then normal business will commence.
And so those who go to the ports, they are most not likely to clear their goods because of this anomaly.
You see, the challenge is the other government institutions we are also owing.
They are also on your neck.
Exactly. Just yesterday, the electricity company of Ghana was also threatening
to cut power supply.
To cut, exactly. So if we also don't take steps to claim the monies that are owed us by other government institutions, we won't be able to offset some of these debts.
Clearly, if
that is that,
clearly, if
that is why we have to bite these hard bullets.
And I'm guessing that clearly, if these debts are paid and paid on time by institutions like GRA, NHIA, Passport Office, the NIA should be very much self-sufficient.
In fact, the goal of this current executive secretary, Mr. Wisdom Kwekudeku, is to win the authority of government subventions.
Right.
And looking at how much these three institutions are owing the authority, we can even pay all our debtors and take the authority of government subvention.
Okay.
And I think that is even what government would expect from government institutions that are generating revenue, that you are effective in your revenue collection to the extent that you don't have to depend on government to, for instance, pay salaries, pay electricity bills, renovate the head office, and even maintain the systems you are working with, also to even buy equipment and all that. All right. So that is the goal of the executive secretary and management as we speak. That is why we are going after our debtors to ensure we get the monies owed to us so we can run an effective authority.
All right. I appreciate your time, Mr. Ampoma. He is a public head of communications with the National Identification Authority. We reached out to the Ghana Revenue Authority for some response. They asked that we sent them our questions. We did so. They promised to speak to this matter. As we speak right now, the person in charge has yet to respond to our phone calls for their side of the story. So we'll leave it here. Whenever they are ready to speak to us, we'll bring their version to you. But let's find out. You heard the NIA say that some people, some businesses that went to the Tema Port, especially to go and clear their goods, were turned away because of verification challenges. They had to go back to the NIA office to have that fixed. Let's bring in Samson Aringobet. He is with the Importers and Exporters Association. So, Samson, how is it impacting on work at the port, especially for your members?
Well, thank you very much. I don't think that it is a good news for the business community and for the country at large. For us to wake up in the morning and hearing a fight between two government agencies. And ideally, if you look at these two institutions, I'm quite sure that Minister of Finance, GRA is under Minister of Finance, and NIA probably maybe because of the data protection issues, probably I'm sure they are also under Minister of Communication.
Yeah, the NIA is under Minister of Interior.
Okay, so the NIA is under Minister of Interior. So these are sensitive institutions because you need Minister of Interior to keep us security, and you also need Minister of Finance to collect revenue for the state. And so if these institutions are not talking in terms, and they can easily, agencies under these ministries can wake up overnight and then take such a decision, I don't think it's the best. But looking at the explanation from the NIA side, I think that it also demands some level of cohesion and respect from each other. That I will write the letter to my colleague, Director General or Director of another institution, agency that we're all serving in government, and you're not responding. I think it's painful. And I want to say that if it's true that he has written several letters to the Ministry to the GRA Revenue Department, and then they've not responded to him, and that made him to take such a decision. I will go with the NIA boss, but I strongly believe that GRA should do the right thing. Let me also state, without any fear of fever, that it is true. For those who maybe today, GRA will say that they have no side effect on them, and because those who have started the processing since yesterday or the day before yesterday, and they're clearing, probably they are paying duties, they are paying taxes. But for someone who's yet to enter the ICOM system, someone who says that my cargo has arrived and he has given his document to his agent to initiate the process to clear for him or her, that has to, before you go on ICOM, you have to enter the PIN. The PIN here is the National Identification Authority number. So when you enter the number, when you enter the number, what it means is that it has to hit GRA, and at GRA the NIA database is there. Then they will verify it to know that this number is truly this Samson Asake. This number really belongs to Samson Asake, and not that I'm using someone NIA number to do. And so it's going to have an effect for those who are doing the beginning, the initiating to clear cargo today. It's going to have an effect on those who have never cleared in the system before that. This is their first time. And so if you haven't done that, then you cannot proceed on the icons to do anything. So that is the challenge that we are having currently.
But Samson, are you getting complaints already from your members?
No, of course, I've just explained to you. The system is clear. If you want, you can speak to custom, and you can also speak to the service provider, ICOMs and others. You can speak to agents; they will tell you, because that is the first thing one will do is to enter. If you go on ICOM, is to enter the national identification number. Then that will have to hit GRA for GRA to verify it on the NIA database that is sitting with the GRA. And now that they have decoupled them, anybody who entered the NIA cannot proceed. So such a person cannot process anything, except those who had already processed and they were paying and they were yet to pay their duty. They're yet to clear. Even if that should happen, remember after the NIA registration, the previous GRA Commissioner General issued a statement and said that we are all going to use NIA numbers as our TIN. You remember?
Yes.
So something that we used to call a TIN from the Registrar General, that if you want to register a company as a new company, you have to, first of all, you have to generate the TIN number from GRA before you can proceed to register the company at the Registrar General. TIN numbers were put away, and we're all using what we call it, the NIA number. So what it means that anybody that is using NIA as your TIN would definitely have an issue. Even if you go to your bank, you cannot verify, because that is the challenge. Because the verification was initiated between GRA and the NIA. And you remember at the point, NIA also issued a statement that if you go to anywhere that you want to do any work and they ask you, give my ID card for you to do a photocopy, you should not agree. All what you should do is to give the NIA number, so that they will use the NIA number to identify you. You remember that directive that came from NIA. So they are doing all these things to also be on revenue, so that internal generated revenue, so they can also take care of their operations and their staff. So I think that ideally, I'm sad. I think that it will be fit, if this will continue this way, it will befit the status of the the paperless relevance that we are having. The paperless is to reduce the cost, to reduce people going to physically to verify. So with the NIA number, you can hit the system and then you can verify. And the point here is, why would GRA owe them up that quantum and GRA is not paying?
Well, let's leave it here for now. Samson Awingobet, thank you so much for your time. GRA promised to respond to this matter. They are unavailable as we speak. We'll leave it here. Away from that, the ranking member on the Parliament's Food and Agriculture Committee, Dr. Isaac Yawopoku, has criticized the government over what he describes as unfulfilled promises and political gimmicks surrounding cocoa producer pricing. He is called on government to issue an apology to cocoa farmers following the announcement of a new producer price for the 2025-26 crop season. The revised price has been increased from $3,100 to $5,040 per ton, and is set to take effect from Thursday, August 7th, that's this coming Thursday. The adjustment was approved by the Producer Price Review Committee, chaired by the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasel Atoforsin. Addressing the media, the ranking member on the Agri Committee, Dr. Isaac Opoku, criticized government for failing to honor its campaign promise of paying 600 Ghana cedis per bag to cocoa farmers.
228.75 Ghana cedis. You will recall that in the run-up to the December 7th presidential and parliamentary elections, the then opposition members of the NDC, led by Honorable Dr. Eric Opoku, the then ranking member for Food, Agriculture and Cocoa Affairs of Committee of Parliament, now the Minister for Food and Agriculture, and Honorable Dr. Kesil Atuforsen, the minority leader then, and now the Minister for Finance, informed Ghanaians that cocoa farmers were being shortchanged and that Cocoa Board was cheating cocoa farmers big time. Honorable Eric Opoku, on various campaign platforms, including a meeting with cocoa farmers at Dadia Swaba in the Ahafo region, consistently promised cocoa farmers a producer price of 6,000 Ghana cedis per bag. Honorable Atuforsen, on the other hand, promised to pay cocoa farmers 7,000 cedis per bag if they won power. What happened to these numerous promises by Honorable Dr. Eric Opoku and Honorable Dr. Kesil Atuforsen? Ladies and gentlemen of the press, we want you to know. We want to know what price the Chief Executive of Cocoa Board was referring to when he promised cocoa farmers that the 2025-2026 farm gate price will be far in excess of what Cote d'Ivoire was paying to the Ivorian cocoa farmer. Is it the same as what the Minister of Finance has announced? Today, the Ivorian farmer at the current exchange rate is receiving the equivalent of 3,635 Ghana cedis per bag of 64 kilos. A staggering 407 Ghana cedis more than what Cocoa Board is paying. This stark difference presents an irresistible incentive for smugglers to divert Ghanaian cocoa across the border, particularly leading to a mass exodus of our prized main crop beans from the border regions, especially in the Western South, Western North, Bono Ahafo, and the Volta. What was the promise by His Excellency, the President, to pay 70% of the FOB price to farmers when he addressed farmers during his thank you tour in the Bono and Western regions? Ladies and gentlemen of the press, when the world market price peaked at $10,000 per ton, the NDC incited cocoa farmers to demand nothing than $6,000 per ton, which translated to 6,000 Ghana cedis per bag. This year, 2025, the world market price peaked at $12,000 per ton. So where is this $7,200 per ton coming from? If for nothing at all, today's world market price is $8,211.23 per ton. And ladies and gentlemen, you can do your own cross-checking. You can Google and find out. You can ask what is the world market price on the international market in terms of dollars today. And you will know whether this figure I'm quoting is the right one or what the finance minister quoted is the right one.